There we go.
Good evening and welcome. Thank you for taking time to be part of our process tonight. For the record, today is January 15th, 2026, and the time is 6:30 p.m. I'll begin the roll call. So council, when I call your name, please say here or present. Mayor Maxton,
Here.
Councilmember Stroop,
Here.
Roden,
Here.
Olvera,
Here.
Pearson,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
and Swarik.
Here.
With 7 members of council present, a quorum is declared.
Thank you, Christina. Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A reminder to everybody here tonight that we do live stream this meeting. I'd like to welcome all that are attending here with us here in the council chambers, and also welcome all those that are joining us by the live stream. For those that are here with us tonight in the room, a reminder as we go through the meeting, if you have an opportunity to speak as part of the meeting, I ask that all comments be made from the podium that's up here. And the reason for that is to use the microphone that's up there for the people that are watching or listening to us by live broadcast. They can't hear the comments if you make them from your seats. They can only hear them if they're made through the microphone up here. If you do get an opportunity to speak, I'd ask that you introduce yourself and state whether you're a resident of Fair Oaks Ranch or not, or if you're with an organization that's here as part of tonight's meeting, which organization you are from. And we didn't have anybody sign up to speak as part of Citizens to be Heard. Is there anybody here tonight that didn't get an opportunity to sign up that would like to speak? No hands? All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda tonight. First, the approval of the December 4th, 2025 regular city council meeting minutes. Second, approval of a second reading of an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. And last, approval of a resolution authorizing the execution of a multiple use agreement and supplemental agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation, TxDOT, for the installation and operation of automated license plate recognition cameras within the TxDOT right-of-way. Is there any council member that would like to remove any of these items from consent to consideration? With that, then, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
From Keith, and a second.
Second.
From Emily. All in favor of approval of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. And with that, we'll move on to our consideration items tonight. We have 3 consideration items on the agenda, and the first one is the consideration and possible action of the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Fair Oaks Ranch, Texas, amending the Fair Oaks Ranch Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 12.01, General Provisions, under Section 12.01.003, specifically the prima facie speed limit by reducing the maximum speed limit on Nolahase to 25 miles per hour. And Carol, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Carol Van Zandt, Assistant City Manager. For your consideration this evening is a speed limit reduction from 30 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour on Nolahase. This item starts on page 33 of your packet this evening. Thank you. Okay, on November 20th, after discussion of the actions to date related to the Nole Hase speed limit request, City Council requested an ordinance be brought forth reducing the speed limit on Nole Hase from Dietz Elkhorn Road and the Parkway. By way of background, I'm going to provide just a short summary of actions prior to this November meeting. First, on February 26, after reviewing the citizen submittal, TSAC approved a motion recommending 25 miles per hour on Nole Hase. At the March 20th meeting, after receiving an update on the TSAC vote, the City Council requested an ordinance be brought forth lowering the speed limit to 25 miles per hour between Dietz Elkhorn Road and Fair Oaks Parkway. At the April 17th City Council meeting, a motion to reduce the speed limit failed. A subsequent motion was made to return the item to TSAC for a citizen survey and a speed limit study had passed. The motion had passed. At the August 6th TSAC meeting, staff presented the survey results. 53 had been distributed to the local residents on Nole Hase, with 17 of the 20 respondents supporting 25 miles per hour. Staff did note that a radar data was collected from May 13th through the 26th, as well as July 15th through the 28th. I will go over a few slides from that presentation. These next two slides, which one is in May and one is in July, depict the daily average vehicle count. More vehicles traveled northbound on both in May and in July. These two slides depict the posted speed limit. These two slides depict the total average speed being less than 30 miles per hour in May and in July, both directions. These two slides depict the same, except it's in a line graph and it shows the 30 miles per hour posted speed limit. So that's May and then that's July. The next two slides is the 85th percentile of speeds are shown as below 30 miles per hour of the speed limit. So we have 29 in May and we have 24 in July. The submittal at TSAC did not receive a majority vote to lower the speed limit. Thus, it failed, and it did not advance to City Council in accordance to their rules and procedure. In closing, staff recognizes that recent approved speed limit amendments promote consistent speeds on entire roads. The proposed ordinance in front of you, and as well as in the packet, does reduce the speed limit on Nole Hase full length. If the council desires otherwise after your discussion, a motion can state as such tonight, and it will be reflected in the second reading. This closes the presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions. And if you would like, we do have a map of Nole Hase that I can put up if it helps.
Full length, that's including north of Fair Oaks Parkway?
Correct, correct.
Any questions? No? Any questions from anyone here tonight? All right. I know it's been a while since we've been here, but then can I get a motion to approve the first reading of an ordinance amending the Fair Oaks Ranch Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Traffic and Vehicles, Article 12.01, General Provisions, Section 12.01.003, Prima Facie Speed Limits, by reducing the maximum speed limit on Nole Hase to 25 miles per hour.
So moved.
Ruben, and a second.
Second.
Emily. Any other comments from council?
Mayor, one thing I would like to point out is that
you know, I know this one's come back a couple of times, but I think when we established TSAC, you know, the intention of TSAC was to take these issues and do some work around them and then come back with a recommendation to the council. And seeing that this second time it came around, TSAC didn't push it forward, I'm not sure why we as a council are doing something in addition to that, because the whole point of TSAC was to take this off council's workload. And so my thoughts are, looking at the data, that people are staying well within the speed limits that are already posted, and most of them, even the averages in the 85th percentile in July, they were below the 24 miles an hour at the 80, so average speed, yeah, for July, both north and south. So I just, from my view, and I'll just state it here, is that I don't see a lot of support to lower the speed limit, just from what we've seen and the process we put in place.
Yep.
Oh, I've got to echo this. I think we're facing a problem that doesn't exist. I think that it's important to let TSAC do the thing that we set TSAC up for, and for us to go ahead and remember that this will be the only street that will be not in sync with the speed limits of the rest of the city when there's no problem. We haven't demonstrated that there's really an issue. So I urge my fellow council members to look at it from that perspective as well.
I would say that people who live there think there is a problem, or at least the majority of the respondents think there is a problem. And with the whole TSAC, with it sort of dying on the vine, with a submitted request from residents on that street, I think we owe it to them to at least make a decision and not just say, oh, well, it was tied, so we're just going to punt it forever.
Well,
So-
let's, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And so that's why it's just like we either make a decision and move on one way or the other, but just to have something languishing out there without any sort of formal decision, I don't think does right by the residents that requested that we look at it.
Yeah, but less than half responded to the survey, less than half. And of that, it was half, maybe-ish, that responded. So the survey is not really a useful tool, other than you had 19 people, 19 out of 50 some odd residences that responded. Affirmative, so.
My comment is, I have two. First, TSAC is not the city council. We send stuff back to TSAC to get more information and make a recommendation to city council. Just like we often send stuff back to city staff and make a recommendation to city council. We don't always agree to do whatever that recommendation is when staff comes to us. Just like we don't have to agree every time TSAC makes a recommendation, just because we have a committee to look at things. In this situation, the data shows people are going below 25 anyways. What's the problem with having the speed limit at 25? If that's what the road is calling for in most situations, then that should probably be the speed limit.
But why change it and go out of consistency with the rest of the city?
Because the people who live there see it as a problem and have sent that request to us. I run on that road a lot, and I often encounter cars that are going quite fast, and it is a dangerous road with curves and hills and things like that. And I think if most people are traveling below this speed limit or at this, whatever the speed limit would be, 25, then what it would do is encourage those who are exceeding the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit to slow down and not be a hazard. And the people who live there will feel safer. I think you guys are seeing it as a problem to change a speed limit that people, to a number that people are already abiding by. I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, I'll agree to disagree with you. I think that keeping consistency is good for the city, if there's no problem. If there's a problem, I'll be all over it. but I
I
don't
think
see
it is
that way.
consistent, because we do have other speed limits in the city, like in residential areas that are lower than 30 miles an hour, so.
Jonathan?
I agree with Councilmember Roden largely that, you know, again, TSAC, we created it to do this job, we should let it do its job. But, you know, Councilmember Stroop brings up a good point in that maybe TSAC didn't accurately represent the residents that live on this street in their decision, and that might be something we look at, you know, what went wrong. If the majority of the residents that live on this street wanted this, and they were working with TSAC to get this done, and TSAC said, you know, if the majority of you want this, that's fine, we're still not gonna do it, then maybe that's something that should be looked at. But I think a perfectly functioning TSAC would be very helpful, you know, and we could just, whatever you guys say, you guys have the time and the energy to study this for us, yeah, go do the study and let us know what you find.
Anybody else? So I have a comment on the process. So if I'm correct, this went through TSAC, was approved by TSAC and recommended to council.
Correct.
We took a look at it and did not pass it because we wanted more information. So it had already been passed from TSAC to us. And at that time, we asked for more information and sent it back to the TSAC. The difference in this case is it already had come to council, we had touched it and considered it and sent it back. And I believe that is the reasoning that we used to bring it back today to make a final decision on it. I believe when we did the workshop, we did make a decision as part of operations with TSAC, if information or requests, and I'm asking everybody if we agree with this. If information or a request comes into the TSAC and they decide not to recommend approval, that it dies in the TSAC at that time. I believe that's what we decided. Because it was their authority to review something and say, this is not to be considered by council, and so they can stop it right there. In this case, it was different because it did come to council, and it was information that we had considered and asked for information to be brought back to us. And so that's why it's coming back to us now. Is that?
That's accurate.
Is that correct?
And Ruben's really was one of the individuals that asked for this to come back, and I just want to make sure I'm not putting words in your mouth as part of it.
No, but after continued reflection, we had the initial discussion. I don't, if there is a real safety issue, and if it doesn't pass TSAC, or if it dies on a tied vote, I don't know that we never touch it. I don't know if we as a council should ignore citizen requests where there's data collected, there's studies done, and if it's something like this where it's 3-3, that means, okay, well, we can't touch it because they didn't get a majority vote. I don't know, I necessarily agree with that. So I think there's certain factors or circumstances to where it doesn't necessarily need to die at TSAC forever just because they didn't get to 4.
So
Okay.
just to clarify a little bit, or to help maybe, TSAC at their next meeting in February is going to be reviewing their bylaws, because the bylaws clearly say that only thing that comes to council is when there is an affirmative vote. If they address it or if they don't address it, it is going to come to council, and maybe you can address it at that time when you review the bylaws.
Okay.
So I think what Ruben is saying, though, is that's if it's an issue that goes through TSAC. So one of us could ask for something to be put on the agenda, an issue that we think is important,
Sure.
that hasn't necessarily gone through TSAC. We could decide as a council to send it through TSAC, or we could just take it up, whether that item has been through TSAC before or not. I think that's
A little bit different.
what you're trying to say, but.
Sort of, yeah.
Okay, I just want to clarify, at the last meeting, as a group, we decided that if it went through TSAC, it did not get an affirmative vote, that it just died at that time. And that if it did get an affirmative vote, it'd be forwarded to us. The difference with NOLA HASE is it was forwarded to us. We asked for additional information, and TSAC reviewed it and didn't provide affirmative vote, but because it was information that we'd asked for, generally is why it's coming back to us now. If we want to relook those procedures.
Correct.
Then that's a good point. I was gonna say we could put it as an agenda item, but
It will be coming to you, yes.
as we relook the rules of procedure, that'll be a good time to take that portion up.
Yep.
As part of this, it did come to us, I think one of the concerns that I saw is it was recommended to us, we didn't approve it at the time, and from what I remember, it was we wanted more input from residents.
Yes.
Because we're impacting the residents that live on the street. I agree, not many responded. Of the 57,
53,
53,
20 responded.
20 responded, so we didn't get half. But of the half that did respond, 17 of them said, hey, they want the speed limit reduced. And so that was information that we were looking for previously. And I agree with the point that Emily made, and I had it written down also, is that the average speed is already below 25 miles an hour, which lends itself to, the road is probably structured at something that's comfortable to drive at 25 miles an hour. The other further point that I looked at is that when we do the reconstruction of Dietz Elkhorn Road, I believe that Nolahase will become one of the detours from Dietz Elkhorn to the Parkway. And so I don't know that we know all the detours for sure, but I believe that will be one. And I would be more comfortable with vehicles being detoured that are not routinely driving that road if we approved a speed limit of 25 miles an hour, which is the average speed limit that most people drive.
Can we do that on a temporary basis for the detour?
I believe so.
I believe
Because
so.
we're doing an ordinance now to go ahead and change it for.
Well, it'd have to be an ordinance too for
For a temporary
a
change.
temporary.
I believe
It would just
so.
set a time limit. Because we have to have an ordinance in place for it to be lawful
Gotcha.
to enforce it. I'm in favor of go ahead and reducing it to 25 miles an hour. Do it now. And, you know, if we look at it and over time, I think it provides safer conditions during the detour. You know, 2 years from now, after Dietz Elkhorn is new and improved and a great road, if we want to relook it then and raise it back to 30, which is basically what we'd be doing with a temporary reduction anyway, my thoughts. But just my thoughts on it.
I think your idea sets a different precedent than keeping it at 30 and then putting a temporary ordinance in during the reconstruction. So I think, you know, certainly leave the speed limit as it is, and then when it's time to do the detour, do the temporary ordinance, and then that's done, and it goes back to 30. Again, I feel like I think we got a solution chasing a problem here, because just because everybody goes 24 doesn't mean the speed limit needs to be 24. We should make it 24. I mean, everybody's going 24. So I don't know, and if I look at the data, and I'm glad we asked for the data, because that was one of the reasons we didn't approve it, but you had 53 people, you had 17 out of 53, which is about 33%, if you extrapolate that of the entire population, is wanting the speed limit lowered to 25%, to 25, and the other 67% don't have a problem with it. So when I look at the data, it's not quite strong enough. We didn't have an outcry to lower it. You know, we have a small number of people. I appreciate their desire, but they're not the majority. And so then you've got the minority driving the majority. So we just look at the data doesn't quite support it. Now, if we want to go ahead and think it's the right thing to do, we can do regardless of what the data says. So that's my thought.
I bet, I'm not a betting person all the time, only on sports, but I would venture to say that probably most of the people going 24 miles an hour were people that live on that road. And that's why there's so many that are going under the speed limit. So maybe it is a problem still. And it's the people who don't regularly travel that road, that the people who live on it, that are blowing through there and creating the unsafe conditions for those people who do live on that road. And that's why you see 20 of the 53 people responding, or 17 of the 20 people responding. I mean, that is a vast majority of the people who did respond, saying they want the speed limit lowered. And I don't think it creates any problem. I don't think it's a solution chasing a problem. I think it's a solution preventing a problem. So I'm in favor of reducing that speed limit on that road.
A vote.
And Mayor, the, what is it, eastbound Nole Hase, there is a hill there. And if, I take that road fairly regularly and go downhill. And without touching gas, I can get up to over 35, pushing 40, just coasting down that hill. For whatever that's worth in the discussion this evening.
Chief, you make a note of this? Just kidding, Dale.
All right, anybody else? All right, with the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And all opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Nay.
Hey,
Oh, too late now.
Christina, with a vote of 5-2, the motion passes.
And the two were Scott
Keith.
Parker and,
And Scott.
thank you.
Thank y'all. And honestly, good discussion. Appreciate everybody's comments. With that, we'll move on to our second consideration item tonight, which is the consideration and possible action approving a resolution authorizing the execution of a work authorization with the Dura Group Incorporated for engineering services in support of the Rolling Acres Trail Reconstruction Project. Kelsey.
Hi, good evening, Council. My name is Kelsey Delgado. I'm the project manager for the City of Fair Oaks Ranch. And tonight I bring you a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a work authorization with Ardura for the design of Rolling Acres Trail roadway reconstruction. With this resolution, staff has prepared a short presentation to review the project. This presentation can be found on page 103 of your agenda packet. Starting out, Rolling Acres Trail project was included in the 5-year roadway CIP that was approved by voters back at the May 2024 bond election. This project includes the repair of just over 2 miles of Rolling Acres Trail to keep the corridor from continued deterioration, minimizing maintenance requirements, and to maximize the road's lifespan. The project also includes drainage improvements to one low water crossing located near Meadow Creek Trail. Project limits span from Flagstone Hill to Ammon Road, around 1,300 linear feet. Is located near that low water crossing and is called out for a total reconstruction. The other remaining portions of this road is called for 2-foot buffers with a mill and overlay. Design also includes 3 options for low water crossings for consideration during the preliminary design phase. All work is expected to be completed within the existing right-of-way, and no additional is anticipated at this time. On this slide provided is the project limits. The low water crossing is indicated on the map. The green area is where the total reconstruction would occur, the 1,300 linear feet, and then the pink areas is that 2-foot buffer with an overlay. Design for this project is $490,767, with $315,000 budgeted for this fiscal year. The remainder would be budgeted for the next fiscal year. Design duration is anticipated for 18 months. This duration does include utility relocation if required. Construction is estimated at $2.5 million for the roadway. And is subject to change pending the selection of a low water crossing option. Design options include the 5, 10, and 25-year storm event. Another additional option would be the utilization of a halt system. All these options are estimated between $250,000 and $2.2 million. and will come back to City Council as a workshop item for consideration. Construction is not budgeted until fiscal year 27-28, with a construction duration of around 9 months. So next steps, tonight we bring you a resolution authorizing the city manager to approve a work authorization and any applicable documents to begin design. Design, if approved, design would be completed in the fall of 2026 with any necessary utility relocations beginning in the winter through the summer of 2027. This project would then go to bid fall of 2027 and construction would begin early 2028. Included with the resolution, staff has provided a letter of recommendation from the city's GEC accepting the consultant's proposal as fair and reasonable. A draft authorization has also been provided that indicates the base scope services of $319,000 to include design, bid, and construction phase services, and supplemental services of $171,000 to include SUE, FEMA, LOMAR, and CLOMAR support, easement acquisition, and waterline design. Total fee for this work authorization is $490,767. Additionally, a copy of Ardura's fee proposal has been included in the agenda packet. And with that, I turn it over to council for your consideration and any questions you may have.
Any questions for Kelsey?
Kelsey, do we, I know we don't, we're not dealing with the next budget, but in our CIP, what did we include estimate for the design?
For the design, it was $630,000.
This is underneath that amount.
That is correct.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Does that price include 3 different options, like a full engineering, build out of 3 different options for the low water crossing?
Yes.
So we're paying them to design it three different ways.
I apologize. I misunderstood your question. It's preliminary design, so it would be 3 options during preliminary design. We would bring those options to council for your review with an estimate on what the what the cost would be. Once a selection has been made, that option would be included in the final design of the project.
Okay.
So it's preliminary options.
Where's our existing halt system over there? Is it at Post Oak?
It is on Rolling Acres Trail. It's at the low water crossing just north. Mhm.
Just north at Post Oak?
Post Oak Creek.
Yes. Any other questions?
Is that the current low water crossing noted here? That where that halt system is? On the,
This is a separate low water crossing
Okay.
located near Meadow Creek Trail.
okay.
So the
We do have gates at the system right now that are closed, manually closed.
Okay.
So what we, if we approve this tonight, it's whatever design we choose for the low water crossing, 5-year, 10-year, 25-year, that's not gonna change this total cost, right, for design?
For design, it would not.
I think we did something similar on Ammon Road where we were looking at the low water crossing and we approved the engineering services and then they came back with the 3 options and we went with, I believe it was a 10-year option on it.
That is
And
correct.
so this would be the same thing and they're now further developing that 10-year option. This would be the same thing with Rolling
That
Acres.
is correct, yes.
Okay. Does that make sense to help clear it up? Anybody else? Any questions from anyone else here tonight? Then can I get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the execution of a work authorization with Ardura Group Incorporated for engineering services in support of the Rolling Acres Trail Reconstruction Project for $490,797, expenditure of the required funds, and execution of the applicable documents by the city manager.
So moved.
From Jonathan, in a second.
Second.
From Scott. Any other further comments from council?
I would say that I really trust Grant's opinion a lot, so I feel really comfortable if Grant's happy with it.
Grant's happy.
Grant gave a thumbs up for those that
Yep.
can't see.
To enter that into the record, I don't know.
All right, anybody else? With the motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved.
Thank you,
Thanks,
council.
Kelsey. Great job.
Go ahead.
And our last consideration item tonight is the consideration and possible action approving a resolution authorizing the execution of a work authorization with Pape Dawson Consulting Engineers, LLC, for engineering services for the Dietz Elkhorn Waterline Project. And Grant,
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Grant Watanabe, Public Works Director. I'd also like to introduce Joel Mesa from Pape Dawson Engineers, who's here tonight in the audience with us. For reference, this agenda item starts on page 109 of your agenda packet, and this presentation starts on page 131. So starting off with a little background first, this project first arose in late 2024 during discussion with 80 Acquisitions LLC, who's the developer for approximately 80 acres out of the Corley Track. This 80-acre parcel is currently not in the city's water and wastewater CCN, and as a condition for incorporating it into the city's CCN, the developer was required to submit and obtain approval for a master development plan, and also enter into a utility service agreement with the city to memorialize the number of units, LUEs, related fees, and cost-sharing arrangements for off-site utilities. Back in May of 2025, the City Council approved a resolution authorizing the execution of that utility service agreement with AD Acquisitions. But over the course of last summer and fall, that USA had to be amendment due to developer delays in acquiring the property and delays in starting the design for this project. But eventually, on December 16th of last year, the amended USA was executed and recorded with the public records of Bexar County. Now, a summary of the key changes related to this project will also be provided in a later slide in the presentation. So the USA identified several off-site infrastructure projects. They included extensions of water and sewer mains from the Arbors, which is located north of the Corley Track, and that's entirely at the developer's expense. It also included the Kojak Circle manhole and sewer upgrade, which is located northwest of this property, which will run from Kojak Circle to the wastewater treatment plant, and that's again entirely at the developer's expense. And then there's this project, which is the Dietz Elkhorn water line, for which the cost will be shared with the city. So this project will install a new 12-inch main from the Elmo Davis water plant to the southwest corner of the Corley Track, which is a distance of approximately 4,565 feet. This main is sized to serve all adjacent parcels on the eastern side of the city, so not just the 80-acre parcel that the developer has under contract. The city and the developer are to cost share the project expenses at a split of 75% city and 25% developer. And the city intends to joint bid this waterline project with its Dietz Elkhorn Road reconstruction project to avoid trenching through the new road to install the water line at a later date. Here's a summary of the key terms and changes in the USA related to the project. First, the city will lead the design and construction of the Dietz Elkhorn Waterline project. This is a change from the previous version where the developer was leading design and city was leading construction. Now, under the amended agreement, the city will lead both design and construction. In addition to that, the developer shall pay their cost share for the design of the Dietz Elkhorn Waterline project within 15 days of executing this agreement. And the developer shall also pay their cost share for construction of the waterline project within 15 days after the city determines the apparent awardee and final bid amount. These deadlines are new in the amended agreement. Next, the developer may terminate the agreement if clear title to the property is not obtained when the city is ready to execute the construction contract. And then lastly, the city is not obligated to return or refund any payments made by the developer prior to that termination. Now moving on to cost and schedule. The total engineering fee for this project is $156,809. Based on the 75-25% split, the city's cost is $117,000, and the developer's cost is a little bit more than $39,000. When it comes to construction, the total estimated cost for the project is $1.8 million, for which the city's cost would be $1.35 million, and the developer's cost would be $450,000. Regarding schedule, the design, permitting, and preparation of bid documents is expected to take about 3 months. For procurement, this project will be joint bid with the Dietz Elkhorn Roadway Reconstruction Project. And regarding construction, the construction of this water line would coincide with the different phases of the Dietz Elkhorn Road Reconstruction Project, which is expected to break ground this summer. That concludes my presentation, unless the council has any questions.
Grant?
Yes, sir.
Jonathan, do you have a question?
I do. Assuming that the developer, doesn't respond within the 15 days, does this come back to council for anything, or do we just pay their share and move on?
If the developer decides not to participate and doesn't pay their share of the design cost,
Yes.
then at that point, they're in default of the agreement, and the agreement would be terminated. And I assume we could come back to city council at that point to decide if we want to pay the full cost for the design. So that's correct.
I was essentially the same question I had with the developer defaults.
Anybody else?
Just a quick question. So you made a comment that this water line, once we put it in, would service other properties that may be developed along.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So if the Corley tract decide not to participate, to Jonathan's question, I'm just kind of asking you, Scott, would we consider going ahead and doing it in preparation for the future, regardless if they participate?
Right, so we know that the developer is still working through title issues with the owner right now. That's basically why we structured this agreement. This gives, excuse me, the developer as well as us the option at construction time how we want to proceed. If the developer chooses not to proceed, project, as Grant mentioned, let's say at that point will be terminated, and the council can decide based on that information whether or not we want to still continue with the construction of the line at city cost in order to avoid potential future construction, or we can opt to construct it without the line. You will have that choice. That's the best part of this agreement is we'll be able to make a fully informed decision at that point on whether or not we want to proceed with the line.
We would do that prior to awarding the bid, is that the
That's
understanding?
correct.
Okay.
So they have to decide within, was it 30 or 15 days of when we've identified the,
That's correct, it's 15 days after we've determined the final bid amount and the apparent awardee for the contract for the construction, and before we come to council to award that contract.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All good? Any other questions from anyone here tonight? You can get a motion to approve a resolution authorizing the execution of a work authorization with Pape Dawson Consulting Engineers LLC for engineering services in support of the Dietz Elkhorn Waterline Project, expenditure of the required funds up to $117,606.75, and execution of all applicable documents by the city manager.
So moved.
Keith?
Second.
Dale? Any other comments from council? The motion on the table, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thanks, Grant.
Thank you, council.
Great job walking us through. And we have 2 workshop items tonight. First, we're going to talk about the strategic plan update.
Yes, sir.
Jim?
Good evening, Council and Mayor Maxton. Jim Williams, Assistant City Manager. So tonight, what we're going to go through is a quick project update on the upcoming strategic plan initiative. We're going to cover two basic areas, just basically what's going on with the project details, get you an update real quick, and then council questions and direction. So let's get going real quick. This agenda item is item number 10 on the agenda, and it's at page 137 in the packet. So real quick, the methodology, I think some of the council members might be familiar with this based on the RFP refresh, is we hired a Mejorando Group, Mr. Patrick Ibarra as our facilitator. We executed that agreement back in December, and we got busy starting the administrative process and getting that running. The goal at the end of this is to have a fully adopted strategic plan by May of 2026, so about 4 months from now, 5 months from now. It's a 5-phase planning framework, and real quick, the basic framework you can see here, I'll go through in more details, but it has the initiation phase all the way through the review and adoption. The phases are in yellow, and the main actors are in white on the blocks there. Phase 1 is contract administration, the initiation phase. Basically, we're just getting all the contract adopted, getting the schedules hammered out, and taking care of all that lead-in administrative work. We are basically substantially done with this part of the project. We have a couple of things to tick and tie, but we're pretty much done. Next phase is the engagement and discovery phase, and we've started that. I think council has all met with Mr. Ibarra with one-on-one calls already. That was part of that engagement and discovery piece. But basically, what we're doing in this phase is we are gathering input from residents, from council members, from staff members, from stakeholders in the community, looking for their perspectives about challenges and opportunities here in Fair Oaks Ranch, city of Fair Oaks Ranch. Then the next phase is the issue identification phase, phase 3. And in this phase, the goal for this phase is to start figuring out from this second phase, the engagement and discovery phase, transitioning that into what are the emerging themes and trends that are developed that we're kind of starting to figure out how the tea leaves are pointing with all the information we gathered in that second phase. We're going to analyze all that input, identify any of the strategic issues, and then compare that to our governance processes, how our finances work, start analyzing all that information. Phase 4 is the planning framework. That work will happen. That work is basically developing the draft plan. The steering committee and the city council will do the bulk of that phase of work, and it's basically the product of that is the draft plan. We'll establish pillars and goals, and the goal is to have that presented to council for a work session and consideration of that draft on April 2nd. And then finally, the final phase of the plan is review and adoption. That's all in the city council. It's final refinement, preparation work, getting the resolution ready and getting the adoption work ready to go. The goal again is that have that ready to go by May 7th. So bulk of the work is going to happen, the bulk of the phase 2 work is going to happen in the next week on January 20th and 21st. We've done a little bit so far with the council one-on-ones. I know Mr. Ibarra has talked to senior staff and city manager's office, but the bulk of this work is going to happen on next week. We have a planned stakeholder meeting. We have 5 employee focus groups planned in one day, 2 community open house meetings, steering committee work session, and then a city council work session next Wednesday night, the 21st at 5:30. Just a quick note, this one right here, this stakeholder meeting right here, in the packet, it says that it's the 20th at 9 a.m. The 20th was a typo, it should be the 21st, and then with Mr. Ibarra's schedule, we moved that meeting to start at 8 a.m. with the stakeholder group. The stakeholders have all been in contact, and the schedule's locked down with them. They all understand what's happening. So real quick look at what is the steering committee. So this group is basically selected elected officials, senior staff, folks in the organization have a pretty deep understanding of how the city works. Very deep internal knowledge of the operations, the governance structure, and the context of how the community functions. The role of them is basically to provide leadership and get to a near final draft plan, and then just to make sure that near final plan is practical, cohesive, and it's responsive to community priorities. That's the role of the steering committee. And the bulk of the work in the planning process will be with this committee. The next group is the stakeholders group. This is a group, they're not inside folks who understand the organization, but they do understand the context of the community. Usually they're folks, they're individuals or folks who are, have ties to organizations that have a more of a direct interest in the outcomes of how the city functions. This group was formed by invitation only, and basically their role is to, again, to provide that external perspective. They do not have decision-making authority or policy-making authority.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
The committee stakeholders will meet in focus groups or will meet, how is that going to
The stakeholders committee is going to meet, the first meeting is going to be as more of like a focus group with Mr. Ibarra. We've got at least one of those focus group meetings planned. We'll kind of wait and kind of see how this develops, see if we need to have another one or a third one. Okay. Employee focus group is another major group. It's pretty odd. They're staff, internal staff, and what they bring. What we're looking for from this group is basically real candid perspectives on in their experiences and consideration on kind of how what these ideas are and if they're going to work in the context of how the city functions. Really just looking for seeing if this plan and the ideas that come out of the plan are really grounded in operational realities. So sneak peek, we have an online engagement page we've drafted. Since we prepared this agenda packet, we've gone through and updated a few things. One thing we took out, and this is definitely at the council's direction, we took out the word action. We just call it strategic plan. So if you see that in your packet, we've been modifying this. It's very dynamic. But a quick sneak peek. I couldn't get everything on one page, so I just took screen grabs of different features of this page. The main part at the top here is basically, the header banner. It looks familiar. It's branded to the city. And then some information about like what is the strategic plan, what are the outcomes, what are the phases, more depth in kind of what we're trying to accomplish. We've got a nice quote from the mayor here. And then you can see another screen grab is the project phases that we're in. So folks who have subscribed or who want to come to the plan, come to this page to see what's going on, they can just track through the process as we're going through it. We have more informational, another screen there, another area that has information about meetings and events and what's going to be happening at those meetings. We also have a nice video from the mayor kind of explaining deeper what's going on, why we're doing this. And then another piece of this page, it's a stay informed is the title of it. Really, if folks want to sign up for email alerts or when we make updates to this page as we progress through the project, they would get an immediate update and hopefully click the link and go right to here and see what happened. Yes, sir.
Is this online now?
No, sir. That was my next point. So, pending council direction, our plan is to go live with this tomorrow morning. So the next piece of this engagement page is the first set of questionnaires that we're considering to get out to the community and just ask these basic questions. These questions were developed with a consultant, so the consultant helped us prepare these questions. And these are real similar questions that have been asked so far during the one-on-one questions that have been asked, the employee focus groups that are going to be coming up, the open house work sessions. These questions are in alignment with that. And what we're looking for in these questions is basically we're going to take the responses and combine them and start to group those responses with other responses from the other work sessions and start to develop themes, emerging themes and strategy themes in the community. So yeah, pending council direction, our plan is to go live with that tomorrow. So that's pretty much the end of the project update. Happy to take questions and direction.
Go ahead.
With the engagement portal, do you have, can you show us what the discussion boards will look like? Because the way I understand it, there will be some sort of discussion boards available for residents?
This piece right here, this is just a straight-up question, and folks would just respond in free text to it. We haven't figured out, I'm looking at Casey, we haven't quite figured out if we want to or should deploy a discussion board
I've
yet.
heard about the moderator woes, so
Yeah.
I feel you
Yeah.
100%, but
Yeah.
I am excited about seeing if we can make it work.
Yeah, I think the discussion boards, just Casey and I talking about how this will go down, I think when we start to develop themes and kind of like when we get more information about what all this engagement is kind of leading us to, we take those themes and we put it out for discussion out in the community and just ask for free form answers. Don't vote on it. It's like, what are your thoughts? And I think we branded it, Casey, what are you thinking? And what was it? What do you think? I think we're like, literally, I think we're going to think about something like that. So, but I think getting to your point, Mr. Swark, I would probably want to see what those themes are before we launch that phase of it, if we do that, discussion boards. Probably premature right now.
When would we know?
We will probably know what those emerging themes are when we get to the first state steering committee work session in mid-February. We'll probably start knowing that. And then you may start to see some of the emerging themes with Mr. Ibarra at the council work session next Wednesday night. So I would wait till we found out about those and then launch that.
Just to follow up on that really quick too, what Jim is showing you here in screen grabs is this is hosted through the platform that you approved in the budget. Talked about it has powerful, social media aggregation. Talked about polling, which this is just a small piece of. Does have discussion board capability and lots of pieces of that. So you're getting a sneak peek both at the tool that we have now, as well as obviously how we want to implement. Start with for this process. We can figure out the discussion board piece. I would see that probably in phase 3. Like Jim said, with the steering committee, we can follow up and ask more pointed questions based on the initial feedback.
So for Zen City overall, the top two things that led me to be behind it were the discussion boards and the polling, right? That engagement factor. It wasn't necessarily let's go out there and, I mean, it's, sure, I understand and I've seen the helpfulness of it scraping everything and kind of combining and alerting. But those are the two avenues that I'm really the most excited about. So for me, that's a priority. I mean, I won't stop asking, you know.
No, I mean, just like what we're doing internally with the council and staff, we're doing with the
Absolutely.
This is the high level, just what the questions say. How are we doing? What do you see? What should be the focus? We start there and we get more process. And our intention is to do the same with the residents.
Right. Well, more I'm speaking about Zen City rather than Zen City's usage in this scenario, right?
Understood.
Keith?
Jim, what do you think we will have in terms of work sessions with the council? Do you have of how many sessions we'll be able to evaluate the information and stuff?
Yeah, based on the contract proposal and how we've scheduled that, we have the initial work session with the full council on the 21st, and then the next work session that we have with the council would be when we introduce the draft document sometime in April. With the steering committee, I would expect if this plan started taking an interesting path and we're like, whoa, we need to really talk to the council about that, we would probably do that. But based on Mr. Ibarra's guidance and leadership, he recommends we go through it in that manner. Yep.
And for now, we only have the one special meeting scheduled,
Yes, sir.
which is
The
next week.
21st. Yep.
No other special meetings have been put on the schedule.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean we can't. It's just trying
Just
to
for
stick to our,
awareness right
yeah,
now.
just for awareness, yeah.
Anybody else?
It's, one question I have is, not everybody's, we have 3 members of council on the committee, on the steering committee. Is there a format to get other updates? this goes on? Because this is going fast.
We are going fast. Yeah.
Shy of being a resident and signing in, to the stay informed thing. Is that even discussed, or does it need to be
Yeah.
discussed?
I think we could do, without getting in front of Mr. Ibarra, I'm trying to be real careful with that, but I think we could do another kind of council update workshop without doing a workshop steering the plan, just where we at. I think that would be pretty easy to pull off, just keep you updated. Yep.
Any other questions from anyone here tonight? Okay, Jim kind of asked two questions as we were going through it. One, any concerns with launch tomorrow? Okay. And two, I think you presented the questions and you were really looking for, is there any modifications or anything we wanted to make to them? Is everybody good with the questions? Okay.
All right.
What else you need, Jim?
Sleep.
The crutch.
We're good.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And we have one other workshop item tonight, which is looking at the personnel policies, compensation and classification study.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I apologize. I have lost my voice, but it's slowly coming back. So if you can't hear me, please let me know. So tonight's workshop item is starting on page 158 of the agenda packet, and it's focused on 3 of the personnel policies, updates basically that are going to help us align the recently adopted policies with City Council's already recently approved decisions from the compensation study recently. So these items are being brought forth tonight, obviously to get any recommendations, refinements to the policies themselves, and just to be transparent, they will not go into effect until council finalizes and adopts and approves. So tonight, as we walk through these 3 targeted chapters, we're going to look at the general policies, leave, and professional development. I'll briefly explain what is being proposed in each of these chapters, what direction might be helpful from City Council, and if there are any adjustments to the language or anything like that that may be needed. So the first update tonight is in Chapter 1, and it focuses on formalizing the, no, it stopped. There we are. And it focuses on formalizing the administration and maintenance of the classification policy here. So the proposed language officially formalizes the plan as it's administered, establishing a regular review cycle of every 3 to 5 years to conduct another classification and compensation study, aligning salary placements and adjustment decisions with that already adopted framework, and providing just structured guidelines for evaluating COLA adjustments, which I am going to discuss in a little more detail here in the next slide. But ultimately, the takeaway for that one is that any of those cost of living adjustments would still come back to City Council for review and approval as part of the regular annual budget process. So as we look at these, it's most important that that I mention here that these policy guidelines, again, they don't mandate any specific COLA. They also do not limit or diminish City Council's authority, but essentially what would happen is each year staff would check the CPIU. If it fell between 0 and 3%, the administrative application procedure step here would be to treat that as normal. We would apply it into the normal budget assumptions as they would be seen as a modest range. In this case, the city manager might implement this COLA just again as part of the regular budget process. Now, if it happens to be more than that 3%, but less than 5, or 5 equal to or less than. The next guideline says basically before we do anything, we just want to confirm with the external markets as well. So the city manager could potentially direct staff to conduct an additional limited check of our market or benchmark peer cities to confirm that whatever proposed COLA is consistent with our benchmark market. If the city and manager does intend to implement something between this range, city council would definitely be notified in advance through a memorandum that would be placed on a regular city council meeting agenda, again, as part of the regular budget process and cycle. So again, the key point here is that it just adds a secondary step for market validation within our peer and benchmark cities. And it also ensures that council is extremely informed and kept up to date on any proposed adjustments. If in this last step under that exceptional review, the CPI shows that it is going to exceed 5%, the guideline does treat this as an exception because this could potentially have a much more significant fiscal impact and it may not be sustainable to implement all at once. So in this instance, the city manager would prepare for a formal discussion for city council outlining any potential recommended approaches that we could look at to potentially incorporate something like this. And that could range anything from phased-in approaches or maybe lump sum adjustments, however we want to look at that, but there would definitely be some recommendations for how to do that, and then again, for formal council discussion. So across all three of these steps, these again are just guidelines to provide a structure, something to provide us with consistency and transparency in this COLA process. And any budget impacts still will ultimately flow through the annual budget process where city council will retain full authority over anything that may get approved or discussed at that time. So I just want to pause here if there are any questions the city council may have.
If CPI is 3% and COLA can be implemented administratively, if it's not within the budget, then what happens? It doesn't get implemented? Or it comes back to us for consideration and like a budget amendment?
If COLA would be included in the proposed budget. CPI was 2.5, whatever that number was. That would be included in the budget throughout the work sessions and in the final.
For the following year?
Correct. So if the budget was reduced, then I would have to go back and make set adjustments to match the budget. The goal here is the direction we begin is city council sets the target policy.
And then if there's multiple years where CPI is 3% or under, so it can be implemented administratively, either way, it's going to come to city council every single year through the budget process in terms of the target.
It is, and in addition to just the budget appropriations, you approve the pay scale each year. So the pay scale is adjusted by that percentage.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. So in the next chapter, Chapter 8, leave, this is, in this particular section, this is a section where we are proposing the addition of the paid parental
Hey,
leave
Joanna,
program.
hold
Yes,
on
sir.
a second. So we just covered the pay scale. And I believe what's going to happen, you're taking this information and you're going to go back and prepare consideration items for us to review these and approve these.
Correct. So the attached policies that are in Exhibit A of the agenda packet from tonight, essentially those would come back to City Council at the next meeting for formalized adoption via resolution.
So really, if there were any changes or anything that you saw tonight as part of the COLA process, now would have been the time to let Joanna know.
Correct.
Okay. And now we'll talk about leave, sorry.
Perfect. No, that's fantastic. Okay, so in this is the paid parental leave program. The key points from this is that through this paid parental leave program, it would be a supplement to our benefits as they stand right now. It would not replace our FMLA process. That is a federally regulated mandatory program. It would, however, run concurrently with FMLA. That is the current recommendation in the policy when applicable. And the benefit would be capped. It would be event-based, and this would not be paid time off that would accrue. So it would be a set amount on a one-time basis. But essentially, that's the highlights from this particular section as far as that goes. Does council have any questions regarding the paid parental leave policy as it stands in Exhibit A?
I had one question.
Sure.
So it runs concurrently with FMLA, associated with an FMLA qualifying event, but you have number 3 in the packet here says, it allows employees who are not eligible for FMLA to qualify if they have 6 months continuous full-time employment. What's the scenario where they don't qualify for FMLA, but then they still get?
Correct. So in order to be eligible for FMLA, you have to have been with your organization for a minimum of 12 months.
Okay.
And have worked a set number of hours in that 12-month period. So if we have any employees who are newer than that, they may not quite meet an FMLA eligible qualified life event, but it may be something that we could consider being able to provide this for them to help retain them as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions about the paid parental
good.
program? Perfect. So chapter 17 is the professional development section, and in this one, this is where we decided it would be best to fit in the addition of the tuition reimbursement program. Highlights from this policy essentially are that we would reimburse up to $2,500 per semester with a $5,000 annual cap. It would only apply to coursework that directly related to job knowledge or skills for that particular job. And we would have some minimum grade requirements, so C or better to be eligible for the reimbursement. We are also proposing a prorated payback policy so that if we are getting a little bit of a return on our investment. So if an employee decides to leave prior to 24 months, we are asking for repayment of those funds.
24 months after the reimbursement.
Correct.
I think that's a little short, personally. I'd like to see that double. Well, how many times can an individual use this? How many semesters are they eligible for?
I mean, so we currently in the policy don't have a cap on that, but
So assume that they hit it 3 years in a row, right? Then you're not really recouping much of that cost if they leave, which, okay. I could be talked out of it, but when we talked about it last time, I kind of had in my head, you know, a little bit longer, like a full term, but
Jonathan, I mean, there's a 5,000 per year cap, right? So
Right.
they could, like you, to your point, 3 years, if they had the time and ability to do it, they get it each year. But then last year, there's still 2 more years they have to be here to get prorated. You just have to include whatever that time period was. What, were you thinking, like 4 years? That
No.
they leave in 4
or
years?
3. Well, I think I talked about 3 last time.
Prorated over 3.
I mean, that, yeah, that much money would give me pause anyway, leaving. So I'm okay with it. I would say that we will be, this is the first time I've ever heard anybody getting paid for a C on their report card. You know, you've heard of people getting money for A's and B's, and we're paying for C's, but I get it, yeah.
Depends on how good a student you are.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm open to either way. I mean, if we want to extend it, I'm not opposed.
Would an individual employee sign a contract?
so we would have an agreement that we would vet through legal to ensure that there was agreement on that, yes.
I mean, let's say this happens and someone separates and they say, I'm either not going to pay you back or I don't have the money to pay you back. Are we going to be suing former employees to recover that money?
That would definitely be a Scott question, or Summer.
Wouldn't
I
you
mean,
take it out of
is
their pay?
Is it, well, they're gone?
I'll be honest, I mean, I've worked in other organizations that do something like this, and certainly can withhold from the paycheck. I haven't seen a case where you've actually gone beyond that. It's theoretically possible, in practicality, I would say likely not.
I mean, I would think you would withhold whatever that number is. Let's say they, using your example of 24 months, after a year they decide to leave, you got, you spent $1,250 that they would owe back to the city, just take it out of their last check.
Right.
That's how I would see it.
And I believe we also contain language, so we do a similar agreement for the police cadet program as well. And if I'm not mistaken, there's also language that says we can withhold it from any like payout. So we pay out vacation, things like that. We can hold it from that portion as well.
When this came up the first time, did we talk about whether there's any data, how much this might have cost in the past, or how many people might have utilized this program?
So this has never come up for us before. I think even since I've been here in my almost 7 years, I've only known of 2 employees that have taken the initiative on their own to go back and get a higher level degree or something to that effect. So I don't have any historical information for our organization as it stands.
So I know that like Amanda and Christina had both gone through certain programs that give you certificates, not necessarily a C, or you know what I mean? Like, but it's a course that, you know, to advance what they're doing. Would those be eligible for that? I mean, if they're it's like a certificate of completion, but they don't get it.
So for some of those, like in those 2 particular instances, those are considered part of training and development. That's already a line item in most departmental budgets anyway.
So they're, okay, good.
So those would fall under a different, this
Perfect.
would be more in light for a full degree or an advanced degree type of item. But it would just fall under review.
Okay, and then so what they were talking about with the years. So if somebody does a program, you know, goes to get an advanced degree, completes it in 2025, and then in 2027, right before those 2 years is up, they go and return, that clock is gonna start over from 2 years from the last time they get reimbursed.
I'm sorry, they return from, like they leave and they return?
No, like they take a new course, right?
Okay.
So they take a course and then almost 2 years goes by and they decide they're gonna take another course. Does the clock start over for just for the new course when they complete that? Or is it, I mean, I feel like this is gonna come up at some point maybe.
And that's a great question.
Doesn't
In other organizations that I've worked for, typically that agreement is per reimbursement. So say I apply to be reimbursed for the fall semester, and that's the full $5,000 because of whatever, you know, institution I chose. At that point, that 24 months applies to reimbursement of that amount. And then if I wanted to go for the spring or next summer, then I would reapply, and I would have a new reimbursement agreement for that new
It's by
amount.
application.
So
Which
we
is what it should be.
Should be.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
could include that. That's not specifically outlined in the policy right now, but I think that's something that we could include if you want us to put it in there. That also could just be an administrative directive that we have an operational process for instead of putting it in the policy, because I don't know that that's the appropriate place for it, but administratively, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sold on the tuition reimbursement program, but if it's something that we are going to do, I would say that it's got to have as many guardrails as possible.
Right.
So specifically, what comes to mind whenever I'm looking at the date of this is Chief's plan for where our police force will be later on down the road and how we will become kind of like a training ground. You come out of the academy, you come spend some time with us, and then, you know, you're working towards your career. It may not be in Fair Oaks, but you're going to spend 24 months probably here, you know. And while those people are here straight out of academy, I mean, if it's me, I'm looking at this and like, all right, yeah, do 2 years, get that done. I mean, if we put it out there as this, it's gonna have a lot of takers, I think. If we evolve, if our police force evolves into what we see it evolving into. Put like a 3-year on it, then maybe, you know, you still get some money back if they don't stay, or, I think it'll target public works more. You'll keep your public works people longer because it'll give them more pause at paying that money back. But I can be talked out of if 24 months and just, we're just trying to put the carrot out there, then I'm okay with 24 months. But if we're trying to be fiscally conservative, I'd rather go 36, really. Make
So
sure
we
that
already
we're-
have a cadet program.
Right.
Academy and follows a similar path to what's being not just advanced degrees, but technical degree. Might be taking advantage. So I want to make sure there. That program we have already was approved a couple of years ago.
So they can't hit this one too if they're in the cadet program, is what you're telling me. Some criminal justice, let's say criminal
It
justice
could be,
degree.
it could be, yeah, I was just gonna say a criminal justice degree could.
Okay.
Chief, there's always advanced courses that people apply for that require payment. Do you see that as being something that would be reimbursable under this program? Advanced narcotic classes or advanced, when they're going for their. We have it in our budget for advanced training. Okay.
Those certifications, master police officer, those types of things, those are all within training.
That's already budgeted. So, okay.
It just made me think, how do we distinguish between the job development that we require, in addition to coursework we pay for, versus a tuition reimbursement program? I mean, it could get a bit muddy, I think. Are we really talking more about advanced degrees like college degrees here? Is this what this is really? Or is this talking about someone going for a master water technician license? How do we articulate the difference?
I think this is primarily associates, bachelors, masters.
Maybe we should state that in here to keep it distinct when we make.
So the way we currently do our certification programs for like our utilities and water department, they actually get completely reclassed in a new job description once they've completed that. So that is part of their training and development. As a utility technician, it's not required to have those certifications. But if they choose to and go through, at the time that they obtain the license, again, we pay for the training class for that. Then they are reclassed into an operator level 1 or an operator level 2. So we do definitely have a distinction for those in comparison to an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree. Police is also just a little unique in which they are the only department at the city that actually gets certification pay for having held those degrees. So we do have different nuances of things like that. So this would be definitely separate and apply to the attainment of those degrees.
I just think if you articulate, specifically say it's for an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, then just to keep it clean.
Find the right terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to understand how that applies job knowledge / skills. For the degree, if you're going to get it, say that it's got to be coursework related to the job knowledge skills, is that is a basic bachelor's degree in liberal arts, does that count?
No,
In my
no,
mind, right? So, I'm asking.
Yeah.
It would not. I think that, related to the field, I'll grant that there is a little bit of interpretation amongst admin or probably myself to determine if it's related to the degree, but likely would not apply.
Okay.
So this, this says it's talking about the actual coursework, not the end result of it. So if somebody goes and decides, I'm going to take a class at Northwest Vista College that is going to teach me about all the new technology related to water treatment. And they don't necessarily intend on getting a degree. They just want to go and learn about it because it's going to help them in their job. Then that, I feel like, I think that's what it's talking about, right? I mean, it would be eligible coursework related to their job that would be, they would be able to get reimbursed for that course. Right? Is that
I
wrong?
think you're on track.
Okay. So they don't have to actually ultimately get a degree.
Yeah, there's no specification of.
Correct.
And I'm not arguing one way or the other, I just want to make it clear. Like when we say you can get a certification, we pay for it. Or if you want to learn more about your own work and it's related, you can pay for it and then get reimbursed. I mean, just so that it's not confusing, because the employee's got to figure it out. And they read this, they got to go, well, I don't know. You know, like take your example you had, you know, getting their certificates and different things. Leave it up to you to make
That's a good question.
You're it, I mean, you make the final call, but
Go
if
ahead,
I'm the
John.
employee reading the manual, I might have a little confusion.
I think it is left open a little in that gray area. That is also to give the departments the discretion to be able to review and see operationally, like, is this a value add, you know, for my department, for my employee, in some of those instances. So there is gonna be a review by staff to make sure it's not just everybody doing any little tiny thing. The departments know what they historically, have in their training budget for some of the general certifications to enhance that growth and knowledge already. This would be something that would be outside of that norm. And of course, the departments in conjunction with Scott and the HR department, we would all review that just to make sure that it was a good value add and appropriate use of city funds.
Maybe we should put that in there then, subject to review by by the city, by the departments, and subject to approval by the city manager.
I think it
So
does
we
specify
do-
both the department head and the city manager.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's great.
There a proration schedule in here somewhere with this?
There is not in the policy, but we would have it in the tuition reimbursement agreement. How it stands right now in that 24 months is basically if they leave prior to a year, it's 100% reimbursement. If they leave within 12 to 24, it's 50%.
What does she need from us? What do you need from us?
Right now, the notes that I've taken is that you would like me to potentially add language that clarified advanced degrees, but in this last conversation, it seems like maybe we might not need that. So as of right now, if you're okay with how the wording in the policy stands, then we will just bring that back to you as is with no changes.
Everybody okay with 24 months, or, I mean, personally, I feel more comfortable at 36.
Like 36 also.
I mean, Chief, do you see that being a deal breaker on your side? No?
Not the poaching.
And then just stretch it out, right? Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would probably be 25, 50, and 75%, or however that
33,
that
66,
knocks out.
something like that.
Yeah.
When this comes back to us, is it gonna come back as one policy change, or are we gonna consider and vote?
I would like to make it simple for you and put it in one resolution, but if you would like, I can put them in 3 separate.
It's each individual one, wasn't it?
I was anticipating one resolution, but
Okay.
I think that's how we've done updates to some of the other policies that we've had to modify since May when we began the handbook revision. But again, it's at council's discretion, so if you want them all separately, we can do that. Or I can put them in a resolution as the changes for Exhibit A for policies 1, 8, and 17.
I think we've given enough guidance or information on where we wanted to go with them, so it shouldn't be a problem. The only challenge I would see is if you do it all at once and we like the leave, and we like the first topic, but we don't like what's been done in professional development, then it would hold up the whole approval process. But I think
That's
we've
fine,
given
yeah.
enough
That's fine.
direction right now that we're probably on track and we shouldn't have any problems, only minor.
That's an easy change.
Okay.
So three separate? Okay. And then just to clarify, you do want to make the change from 24 to 36 months? Perfect. Okay. Any other questions on that one? Okay, so concluding that, I have great feedback from City Council, and I kind of know what to change and update for the next one. We'll refine that language and bring those forward to you in 3 separate resolutions at the February 5th meeting.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Everybody good? Questions, comments? All right. Thanks, Joanna. And we have one last report from staff. Christina, about the upcoming election.
Yes. Good evening, Council. I'm Christina Pachocchio, the City Secretary. Tonight, my agenda item begins on page 189, and the presentation begins on page 191, if you'd like to follow along. This presentation provides an overview of the 2026 election cycle, including the city's general election and the state primary and primary runoff elections. I'll review the key dates, explain how these elections conflict with our regular council meeting schedule, and request council direction regarding 2 affected meeting dates. The May 2nd, 2026 general election will include 2 council seats, place 2 and 6. Both seats carry a 3-year term, and both incumbents are eligible to continue serving. Both incumbents have submitted their applications, and this information is provided for awareness and transparency as we are in the filing period. This slide outlines a statutory timeline for the city's general election. These dates are prescribed by the Texas Election Code and guide all election-related activities. The filing period opened January 14th and will close February 13th. Council will order the election on February 5th, and if no candidate is opposed, the election can be canceled after February 20th. Early voting runs from April 20th through April 28th, and Election Day is on May 2nd. The canvass period follows in May, with a special meeting anticipated on May 12th. New council members could assume office on May 21st. In addition to the city's election, the state of Texas will conduct a primary election and, if required, a primary runoff. These elections are administered by Bexar County and involve extended early voting periods and full-day election operations. Primary early voting is February 17th through February 27th, with Election Day on March 3rd. And primary runoff early voting is May 18th through May 22nd, with Election Day on May 26th. These elections require uninterrupted access to the Public Safety Training Room for voting equipment, election staff, security protocols, and public access. So 2 regularly scheduled city council meetings overlap directly with the primary voting operations. The February 19th, 2026 meeting occurs during primary early voting, and the May 21st, 2026 meeting occurs during primary runoff voting. Due to continuous nature of early voting operations, the room can't be partially closed, relocated, or reconfigured without disrupting the election activities. And because of the length of the early voting periods, there's no practical opportunity to reschedule the council meetings or relocate these meetings. Based on these constraints, staff is requesting council's direction to cancel February 19th and May 21st city council meetings. This approach ensures compliance with election requirements while maintaining voter access and operational integrity. Any time-sensitive council business could be addressed through alternative scheduling if necessary. And should staff receive this direction, we'll prepare the appropriate documentation for council's approval at the February 5th meeting. That concludes my presentation, and
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
asked us,
happy to answer any questions.
You asked us a question about, going forward with the February 19th meeting. Bear County's already requested to use the room, which means we cannot conduct a council meeting in this room. And if y'all would like to consider canceling that meeting, then we just need to give guidance to Christina or Scott to come forward with that. Our requirement as a council is to hold one meeting a month, and so we'll have that on February 5th. And, if potentially needed, I guess we could always schedule a special meeting if needed. But I think we've been through the agenda items, and I think we're okay. We're not stacking up. And some, but not bad. I would say go ahead and bring the agenda item forward for February 19th, and let's take a look at it. We only have one more council meeting between now and that time frame, so we do need to consider it. The one for May 21st, it's related to a runoff, and I would say let's hold off on that until we determine if it's needed, if a runoff in Bear County is needed, and if they're going to use a room, et cetera. And then we can go from there. Is everybody okay with that? Concerns? I mean, if you do have concerns.
I just wonder why you can't have council meetings at one location. I understand the video issue.
We could.
That's an option.
It is an option. But we don't have the audio recording, we don't have it would just be
Technical.
right.
Technical issues, right? Okay.
Like Brian Mobile.
He can use his iPhone and video it.
There you go. Will that work?
Oh, my Lord. I would say okay with the February one. And then I know the May is right up against, budget stuff. So if we needed to, we could maybe consider, or maybe you can look now to potential other locations where we could hold a council meeting for that May date if we think we might need it.
It would be the last meeting before the budget workshops start. First May meeting, we would likely cover both the strategic plan, 5-year financial plan.
So we could get it all done.
That'll be a hefty meeting, but that would be the plan.
Okay.
Or other dates would also work.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not for sure, but I anticipate a runoff will be highly likely,
Well, Christina,
all the statewide elections.
can you go back one slide again? So, okay, the 26th.
say we want a
Okay, so
special.
if we needed to, there is another Thursday in May, the 28th. So if we needed another meeting in May, we could do it the 28th. Okay. All right, I mean, we can go across that.
So if I understand, I'll be coming back on the 5th with just the February cancellation.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all you needed?
Yes, sir.
Any questions about the election schedule? Anybody? Kind of skipped over that. All right. Well, that covers all the items that we had on the agenda for tonight. Any council members have any announcements that they'd like to make? Emily?
Very important. I want to wish my mom and dad a happy birthday. My dad was yesterday, my mom is tomorrow, so. I love you, parents. They watch these, so.
Oh, they're watching?
That's my daughter.
Anybody else? 2 announcements, well, actually 3 announcements. Jim mentioned our strategic planning. Next week, we do have 2 open house sessions for residents to come in and provide comments. That's on January 20th. Next. The open house? Open house is on the 20th. Open house is on January 20th. Right. And right here in this room, there are 2 sessions. One goes from 1 to 3 in the afternoon, and the second session is from 7 to 9. Both of these sessions are come and go, and so anytime during those time periods, 1 to 3, 7 to 9, you come in, review the information that's being provided, and provide any comments as part of it. We really encourage residents to be a part of this process because we're looking at input to ensure that we have the right focus that we need for our strategic planning. Is that okay? Second is State of the City on January 29th. It'll be at the Spring Creek United Methodist Church. The doors will open at 5 p.m. and the presentation will begin at 6:30 p.m. It's our opportunity to provide you a report back on what was accomplished in 2025 fiscal year and what's scheduled to be completed in 2026. It's really a report back to our residents on what is going on as part of city operations. Please help me put the information out. We'd like to see a strong attendance so that we get, we do transparency and information, and we want to get this information out to residents. And then last Monday, February 19th, is observance of Martin Luther King Day.
January 19th, yes.
Yeah, whatever. January 19th, and and City Hall will be closed on Monday. Anything I missed?
Nothing further.
Does council have anything that they'd like added to a future agenda? I think we covered all the items that. You're good? I know you're good. That's why you're on council. Everybody else? All right. Christine, anything I missed?
No, sir.
There is executive session that was listed on the agenda, and there is no requirements to go into executive session tonight. It was just a filler on the agenda.
Oh, darn.
Unless you'd like to do, no.
I'm good.
Anything else I missed?
No, sir.
Scott, anything from your standpoint?
No, sir.
Christina, the time now is 8:12 and we are adjourned.
Nice.